I've got to buy this shiny object. I need to go buy GPUs now because there's a year and a half wait for NVIDIA GPUs.
Hmm.
So I have to buy them now. So I get them a year and a half from now because my competitors are doing it. And I think there's just a lot of money being sunk into something that is useless. Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. This is Darren Pulsford, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On today's episode, Cutting Through the Hype, How to Spend Wisely on AI, with special guest Walter Riviera, AI Specialist at Intel. Walter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we had a fun time talking just a little bit, and we started getting into it, and I said, whoa, wait, we got to save that for the podcast. But before we dive into AI and the hype cycle and all that, let's first talk about Walter Riviera. Every superhero has a backstory. What's Walter's backstory? And then we'll figure out your superpowers after that.
I see. Yeah, I was actually arguing, am I a superhero? I'm probably a superhuman because I'm a basic standard human being with a lot of experiences. Well, funny enough, to build on this, I started off as a metal worker in
Really?
early. Yeah. In fact, um, after that, you're not gonna believe this, but I did spend a year and a half as a holiday resort entertainer. So just to get even more crazier. And then I decided I wanted to go and study at the uni, and so I got my degrees, my master degree on what back in those days it was called computer vision and pattern recognition, which was the precursor of AI, basically machine learning. And then after that, I won a couple of research grants to go in Glasgow University, another one in Verona on data science and building prediction functions. Then I switched for a job in Edinburgh in text to speech. We were building this text to speech engines when deep learning was not a thing yet. I remember reading the first paper from Google saying they managed to build this new audio file using neural network, and I was like, oh, I can't understand this. And then I ultimately got the job at Intel, where in 2017, where I joined as a technical solution specialist, and I'm now the AI tech lead for EMEA and the data center.
This is an awesome backstory, right? Because metal worker turned entertainer turned AI specialist. You can't get better than that.
Well, you never know. I was certainly not expecting anything of it. In fact, if you ask me to go back in time and bet one single dollar or euros, just to make it more EMEA friendly, on my holiday resort entertainer activity as a good ally, as a good skill to have and to succeed in my Intel job, I would have never done that. But in reality, that's actually what happened.
You know how to deal with people, which is incredible, right?
Yeah,
Not a
actually,
lot
I
of
do have a
technical people
story.
can handle people.
Well, yeah, but fingers crossed they know how to handle technical stuff better than me.
Yeah. So hey, let's talk about it. You've come into the AI world when it was already moving along.
Oh yeah. Well,
2017, it was slowly moving along. When I started in the AI realm, it was back in the 90s. It was just, there was nothing we could do really back then, right? And neural networks were theoretical because computers weren't fast enough to do them. Now they are. So, but you've seen this massive, huge explosion, and we just missed. Oh no, it's coming up. It's coming up this month. 2 years is it? It's 2 years since the birth of ChatGPT. This month.
it is indeed.
Yeah,
I like to think about ChatGPT as a sort of a iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is actually ChatGPT. AI is the entire iceberg, and so
absolutely.
before that,
But what's interesting about this is Chat GPT, that iceberg emerged out of the water um, in November of 2022, and it changed the world. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing a huge amount of investment and a huge amount of interest in the public in AI now, where before AI was this hard thing to do. It required a PhD or it required data scientists. The projects took years to get anything out of. All of a sudden, it went boom, and everyone needs it. Everyone wants it. What's the
Well,
reality?
yeah, I would say it is still like that, meaning that the experts or people that are actually working with AI and don't see it as only as a final product or something that you can interact with, I've always seen the opportunity, and I've always seen the size, the actual size of the iceberg, and probably they they also started doing it way before ChatGPT came.
Yeah, but the money wasn't flowing like it is now
Well, the money wasn't flowing like it is now. I agree with that. Now there is a lot of money flowing right now in
into dumb
projects.
things.
Yeah, where people are basically calling an API and claiming, "Oh, I've done the model." No, you played it clever, so yeah, kudos to you. But the money flowing are still in the flowy in side.
Not flowing out. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it is still building up because it's a lot of interest. Don't get me wrong, and I love this field, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So no doubt about that. And maybe I'm talking against my own interest because I'm saying that my skills are in a market that is sucking a lot of investment and not necessarily giving back. But it is the reality. I mean, not a lot of people are making money. More people are actually taking advantage of it in a good way. So they are seeing a boost in productivity. They are seeing a boost in everyday tasks. They are seeing they can perceive the difference in the future we're gonna walk in, which is all great. In terms of product itself, I mean, it's still like for few people, this is the right time to believe in the AI revolution. But it's critical to succeed in identifying the right usage of it for each single company. So start from the bottleneck, from your problem, the use case, and your goal, and then size the AI accordingly. Not just go for the top shiny thing, buy AI. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but isn't that what people are doing though? They're feeling like, because I've seen this myself. They're feeling like I have got to get on the AI bandwagon. I've got to buy this shiny object. I need to go buy GPUs now because there's a year and a half wait for NVIDIA GPUs.
Hmm.
So I have to buy them now. So I get them a year and a half from now because my competitors are doing it. And I think there's just a lot of money being sunk into something that is useless.
Well, you know what? I think it all comes down to the priorities.
Okay.
I I wouldn't suggest that approach, but I don't see that always not working. Meaning, it really comes down to their priorities. And if a company doesn't have a clear ideas of what their priority are, probably that's the first priority. So identify where they want to go. Is it build versus buy? Because I think we now all appreciate that AI has legs as a concept, has a lot of long legs in the future. So in the future, it will be there. So why the need to rush today and buy stuff versus building and getting the return in the long term? So that's another big decision that can be already sensed today. But the best way to, in my opinion, this is something I always recommend when I have customer meetings. Um, it it is not a trivial path to start and engage with AI. So don't be fooled by the rush. I I like to quote my dad in this case. You either do things well or do them twice. So you
Oh, I
can rush.
like that.
Yeah, you can rush as much as you want, right? But for the sake of putting up something, it's not guaranteeing you any success in the long term. It's guaranteeing you that today the cake is yours, the crown is yours. Well done, you. But then you have to keep up with that. So, and if it's an open AI kind of situation, yeah, I understand they want always to be the first because, so they go out with these crazy claims, fine. But if you are an enterprise and you are thinking about adopting AI to improve your productivity, your processes, think long term. Forget about the rush, do things properly because AI is built on data. So take good care of that, organize that in a proper manner because that is your path to future success and future proof.
Okay, that makes to me that makes a lot of sense. But that
Yeah.
it's hard to know, right? I mean, I've got to move fast.
Mm-hmm.
I do, kind of. I got to do something. So
Yeah.
where do I start? Because you said build versus buy, but I can't build a 1 trillion parameter model.
Okay.
I cannot. I mean, the cost is exorbitant. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars to do that.
Very true.
Even the U.S. government is like, well, we don't want to build our own
Mm-hmm.
from scratch. So can I start? Can I trust the open source models? Is that a good place to start? What do I do?
It is.
How do I
It
get
all.
started?
Yeah. It all starts with the problems. You don't start with fantasies. I mean, you can, but my
Okay, I like what you're saying. So go put the shiny object on the shelf is what you're saying, right?
absolutely. I mean,
And then
get
look at
out of
your
the house.
problems that you're trying to solve.
Yes. I mean,
Got it.
sometimes I just give an example because sometimes I sit down again, customer conversations at very high level, like C level, and it's like, oh, bring me ideas. How can I use AI? I'll be more than happy to do that. Don't get me wrong, and I'll do it, and I've always done it. However, I always leave with this a thought, food for thought. It's like me inviting you, Darren, at my home and asking you, Darren, which is the next fix I should do at my house? Should I put a lamp or put up a shelf? I mean, it's just the knowledge, right? If you expect somebody with an external perspective to tell you where you can take advantage, somebody external can bring the external expertise. That's great. But the assumption what I think is extremely important as a first step is to sit down with internal boards and say, are we happy with the current processes? Because you can have AI as a product that you sell. That is one part of the conversation. Or you can have AI as an ally to improve your internal, let's say, cost reduction operations. So if you want, of course, today, if you want to go out there and propose a new, for example, LLM, then you already know you have to compete with the Google, with the OpenAI, with Amazon, with
Yeah, no
Meta.
one's going to do that.
Exactly. So forget about that. But if you think about how you can leverage AI to do things better for you, to speed up processes and then get more margin out of what you're already selling, or get better working experience internally, so you can do things fast for your end customers, then it's a complete different story. In that case, you do have a voice. You as a enterprise or anybody that's listening, you do have a voice in that scenario. But that starts from, okay, I want to use AI to reduce cost. Great. Where should I start? Identifying the costs. Find out in your process what is actually not working at the best, or what is sucking you more time in everyday activities. And it could be as easy as, oh, I need to report this document into this database, but it's time consuming, or I need to listen to all of this and I need to do it manually. So find these small steps and see where the tools are already mature. And then evaluate, is this step, let's assume I'm going to find an AI button I can click and I can purchase. How much would be the estimated, let's say, gain? Because of course I need to buy this application. So at the beginning, it's always, cash out. But
Right.
in the long run, assuming I can reduce this activity from taking 5 hours to taking 2 hours, how is that reflected at the end of the year? Because that is the money.
Okay, so this sounds a lot to me like traditional process re-engineering, solution architecting, solutioning. So we got to get back to our basic roots, but now you're telling me I've got a new tool out here that can do things that I haven't been able to do before with computers. Before I would have to put humans in. And that is LLMs are really good at natural language processing and can help summarize or make decisions based off of context, or give humans the ability to consume a lot more information um, in smaller packets because they can summarize a lot of that. That's kind of, to me, that's one of the sweet spots of large language models in process reengineering, where before I put a person there, I could put an LLM with the person and decrease the cycle time dramatically. Is that one of the
Yeah,
key things?
that is correct. I mean, I don't think AI responds to what question. I think AI
Oh,
responds to
interesting.
how questions. So AI is a way of doing, is an approach, is a method of doing. If we were talking about, kitchen and food, AI is not a new kitchen. AI is, well, arguably, is not a new food, is how you cook previous food
It
differently.
might be a new oven,
It might be a new oven, it might be a new tool, but it's
a
just
mixer, or
correct.
whatever.
But the point is, you are still able to cook all the previous dishes in this much better way. So that takes time. You need to port your recipes, and hopefully this porting exercise will actually save you a lot in the long run. However, it's not the only one. Of course, you can decide of, creating, oh, I have this new oven. I want to create a recipe that has never been created before. Of course. But it's not just one that is the biggest opportunity. It's both. And arguably, if it's nobody has the crystal ball, and a lot of people don't have all the answers for the future, and that's totally legit. But the only one thing in common between creating a new recipes for a new dish never invented before and porting the previous recipes through this new method, the only commonality is they both need a refrigerator to keep the ingredient, arguably, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
that is the data. So if you organize, if you structure your data infrastructure properly, and that means maybe centralizing the data if it's possible, if they're not subject to legal regulation that ask you to preserve them, but collect them, try to clean them up already, try to give them a structure, make them accessible through database which are optimized for fast queries, because that is what is going to give you a speed up no matter what application you're going to build on top of those data tomorrow.
Okay, I love the analogy because if I have spoiled vegetables, it's going to not make a good meal, right? If I
Indeed.
have dirty data, it doesn't matter how good my AI is, the information coming out is not going to be as good as if my data was better.
Well,
So
that's
that brings into this whole other realm of data management. I think people are under this illusion that AI is going to fix all their data management problems.
so
And no, it's actually going to exacerbate it, right? It's going to make it worse.
it makes me smile, and sorry, but it makes me smile because it's like people forget about the first time. You know, AI sometimes is perceived as this magic box that does it for
Yeah.
you. Well, it can sometime, but you gotta teach it how to the first time. So it means at least the first time you have to spend time in regulating your process and understanding how to deal with it. So you can pass that knowledge and something or somebody else can do it for you. But you cannot expect something else to automatically teach you how to. So it's like I want to build an application that recognize all the guests in my house. Okay, but if I'm the first human being doing that on Earth, right? I need to build the algorithm. I can't just say, "Oh, AI will recognize the guest." Okay, but you gotta structure that. So sometimes it's just this
Yeah,
initial
but
step.
but aren't we being sold by the big AI vendors right now that we're moving to general intelligence? So I don't have to train every model on my specific problem. In fact, we're already seeing that with Chat GPT or Claude or Bard or Gemini. I guess it's Gemini now. Um, that I can ask it questions about my organization with some context, and it can do a pretty good job. I don't have to train it on my processes, on my products. It can do a pretty good job now. And isn't there some validity to that, or is that still not real?
No, it is. But we need to be conscious of what are the actual possibilities that these tools provide. Meaning, let me let me let me try to clarify, zooming in here a little bit. Of course, the quantity of data that Meta, for example, have access to is not replicable. And so the model they train, it's likely going to be more reliable than what I can come up train. So that's for sure. It is a solid base. It can read, it can listen, great, and arguably can understand to a certain extent the task. So it does what it's expected to be doing. But from there to having that AI representing a meaningful value add for my company, let's assume I sell shoes.
Okay.
That is the gap that people need to realize they need to fix. Because I don't care, and this is something that I've been experimenting in the field throughout the entire 2024. So people do not care about having the latest LLM that can, if I am selling shoes, I don't care about having an LLM that can respond to my customer service support, which the best recipe for the how to make the best carbonara.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah. Right. It doesn't
right?
matter.
But I do care that that LLM is able to tell the customer service, this is our policy if you want to return the shoes. This is our policy if it didn't work out there, if you are under warranty or whatever. And to do that, you need somehow to customize the knowledge of that model with something that belongs to me. Because those are my policies. If I deliver the same LLM to, I don't know, a grocery store, they might have different policies and different products. So that level of customization can be achieved to now the best solution is RAG. It's called retrieval augmented generation. Basically, you're forcing, but this is already explicative, because RAG is like hiring a 10 years old kid that has just learned how to read and write English or Italian, and ask the kid, look, spend some time in this room. This is the book. Read the entire book, learn it through, and whenever you get out of that room, I'll put you in front of my customers. And if you get a question for which the answer is in the book, just provide that. If you get a question for which the answer is not in the book, just say, I don't know. This is RAG, and it can be done. But you see, the extremely powerful tool is the key and is the LLM. But I don't need it for as is, unless I want to build a chatbot for fun. But
Right.
it's already, full of it.
So RAG gets me partway there, right? So what can I do if I'm using a RAG and an off-the-shelf LLM, open source LLM?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to make it better? Do I have to now fine tune that model? Do I need to train it? Or are there other techniques that I can use to get to that automated customer service, policy on return, or whatever the case may be? How do I get to that point where I can trust it 100%, or will I ever get to that point?
Yeah. So trust 100%, I think, is a utopic anyway, always.
Okay.
Can you trust all your employees 100%? It's just
No.
provocative. It's just a
Okay, so
provocative.
you know what? That's a great point. treat your LLM like as an employee, a human resource.
But more
It
limited.
makes mistakes.
But more limited, way more limited.
Way
I
more
don't.
limited. Okay, I like that. I like that.
I don't buy at all the AGI story. I don't think science is actually supporting that statement at all.
Okay.
Of course, we can play around definitions, but we can expand on this. But let me get back to your previous question first. RAG, it is actually an alternative to retrain or fine tune your model. RAG is the way you can take a general knowledge models and make it customized on your own knowledge. So you do not need to retrain. In fact, there is another advantage of RAG. But because it only requires the ability to read and write English, for example, you don't need it to have a big knowledge behind it. And so this means basically that we can forget about the gigantic models like 70 billion, 450 billion parameters. We can focus on smaller, like 3 billion parameters, like 7 billion parameters, 13 billion parameters. Now,
Yeah,
these
which I
have
can run on a laptop.
correct. That's the point. So, and this goes back to what you were saying about top shiny devices. No, you do not always need a GPU. Let your use case, your workload decide. We are entering the data-driven, decision
I love
era.
it.
And
Yeah.
let's do it practically. If my workload doesn't need a GPU, why should I go buy it beforehand? No. Let's implement a prototype. Let's see what you need. And RAG has a lot of benefit, as we were mentioning. Maybe a Xeon is enough, a server. And I've deployed one at the beginning of this year in EMEA. This is all public knowledge, so I'm happy to share links eventually with the system integrator, and the customer is happy with having the RAG implemented on Xeon. But just to put a connection and link to what I said before, so enterprises can just retrain the publicly available model, the open source model, with their own custom data through RAG. But as I said before at the beginning and in the analogy with the kitchen, it all starts with having your data well organized. Because if you want to implement RAG, and you can actually do that without even considering an LLM, because you can just ping the external API like OpenAI or Google or Anthropic. Pick your favorite. You don't have to worry about that.
I don't even need to host it. I can just use
Correct.
the APIs and do it.
Correct. But
I've done that. I've done that myself, and I get incredible results using a RAG and the open public Gen AIs. But I've also been able to run a small language model. I like to call them small language models, a billion parameters or a 7 billion parameter model on my laptop with a RAG, and I get incredible results. It's amazing.
it is. And on security, that has a lot of advantages. But the point is, if you have your knowledge structured, so let's zoom into this RAG concept, to boost productivity. You can implement it in various forms. But what is critical? It is critical that if I'm a company, the shoes company, I might have the policy, like the written policies. I might have other type of data for which I would like to link the RAG. For example, I would like to build my database of available shoes, like the inventory, and then query that through a RAG. So I can just say, hey, dear computer, how many pairs of that type of shoes do we still have? There you go. So, and I can build 2 different RAGs for this. And as other company can build N RAGs. And the good news is that they can keep things small, so absolutely cheap to host and execute. But again, what is the critical fil rouge among all of this? Data are well organized. Your infrastructure that hosts the data, because that data is basically the knowledge where your RAG is going to pick up before answering. So that's a lot, that people can use as a starting point.
All right, Walter, this has been great. I'm sad we're out of time because we can talk for another hour easily on this whole subject. But this has been great because we're seeing there is hype around AI.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to go buy a whole big GPU farm and build my own LLM. There's models that are out there. RAG is absolutely a way that we're moving forward, where anyone can start consuming this at your home, in your small business, your medium business. So this is incredible. Thanks again for coming on the show. We most definitely need to have you come back.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.